All right. Today we're going to be talking about the psychology of the 12th house in astrology, giving you the full meaning explained. First, we're going through the components, the different aspects of the 12th house in relation to your psychology, so you get a more detailed look. And then we're going to go through the qualities, how to evaluate or how to see what does a healthy 12th house look like psychologically, and what does an unhealthy or pathological or perhaps distorted version of the 12th house look like at the psychological level. And then the things you can look at in the chart to evaluate if the 12th house is in good shape or is having more difficulties and there's more conscious effort that needs to be put towards that place to develop and heal that aspect of one's consciousness or that area of life, psychologically speaking. So first, the 12th house is a Moksha cadent house. Now, as we've talked about, we're now in the final house. We went through all 11 and now we're at the 12th. And so the Moksha houses 4, 8, 12 align with liberation, emotions. These are the emotional houses, the spiritual houses, the internal houses, the houses of contemplation, introspection. Okay? These are hidden houses. The Moksha houses are hidden houses, right? So in this regard, these houses, 4, 8, 12, are more intimate. 12th house is no exception, as it is a Moksha house, so it's more about the internal space, the private life, the more hidden aspects of one's life, consciousness, psyche. Less visible, unlike the first house and the 10th house, which are far more visible aspects of our psychological space, of our persona, of our life. You get the point. So 12th house, it is a Moksha house. It's all about liberation. It is the spiritual domain. It's all about connection as well, emotionally connecting to something. And when you have the 12th house, that's emotionally connecting to something greater than oneself because it's the 12th. It's the final stage before you start the cycle all over again because it's one fluid circle. 4th house is connecting emotionally to one's home, to one's foundations, to one's mother, caring, nurturing. 8th house is connecting to our darker sides and the parts of ourselves that have been rejected and repressed. It's the shadow work aspect of our consciousness and connecting to the better version of ourselves we transform into after we experience the crisis, the death, rebirth, transformation that happens in the 8th house. And the 12th house is connection, moksha, connection, liberation to something greater than oneself, something transcendent. This is where the astral realm exists, the subconscious mind, higher states of consciousness, right? All about moksha. Cadent, as we've talked about with the 3rd, 6th, 9th, and now 12th, is the skill houses, the ability houses, okay? The houses of development and transitions into the next cycle, the next karmic cycle that needs to be burned off in this incarnation, whatever that may be for you. Everyone's different. And so when you synthesize these things, when you combine them, you have emotional skill or spiritual ability or contemplative ability, because that's what Moksha houses represent. Contemplation, emotion, spirituality, able to connect to something skillfully. So the 12th house represents our ability to develop spiritually, to connect to something higher than ourselves, bigger than ourselves, through practices and development, because these are what the cadent houses represent, right? Social skill and development. Social skill and development, 3rd house. Material skill and development, 6th house. Let's say self-skill, self-knowledge and ability of knowing themselves and wisdom, 9th house. And finally, moksha, spiritual, truly spiritual. 9th house is more religion, more philosophy, beliefs. 12th house is true disillusion, just true mysticism. It transcends organized religion, mores, laws. It just transcends that order that is required in the other houses because you are fully transitioning into the next cycle of karma or even the next incarnation, if that's what you believe. I do, okay? And so with the moksha houses, you start at the 4th house where it's action. You are emotionally tapping into that energy. You are acting out of your emotional guidance system or your emotional, let's say, triggers in any way or whatever feels, or emotional resonance is probably the healthiest way to think about it, right? You're acting out of your emotional resonance in the 4th house. You then go to the 8th house and you connect to something solid, intimate. You gain a more solid foundation emotionally as the external world goes through crisis and changes and all those things going on in the 8th house, which can be very difficult from an external point of view. And then you go to the final Moksha house, which is the 12th house, where you develop your skills, you develop the emotional security you developed in the 8th house, and the actions that you were taking in the 4th house. Because all the Cadent houses are a synthesis. They are a combination of the angle houses and the succedent houses. So you have angle, succedent, and then a combination of the two. It's like a balanced in-between state. Has both qualities before you transition into the next action, and the next security, and then the next ability, skill, which is balancing both, optimizing it, developing it, and then you go to the next one. And that's how the cycle continues on and on. So you start with the 4th house, 8th, and then it's all about contemplation. It's all about spiritual practices. It's all about letting go and surrendering, being able to let go of anything that is holding you back and keeping you down on this material plane, that is keeping you down at this level of consciousness, because you need to elevate to a higher state of consciousness as we return back to source in our own unique ways. This is the truly most spiritual, mystical, magical, imaginative, transcendent part of the chart, right before you start the journey all over again. Okay? And as we did before, we're going to go around the zodiac. So start with the 1st house. You have an inspiration, you have an idea, you have a thought, something that you want to pursue. Oh, I want to study astrology, or oh, I want to become a lawyer, or oh, I want to write or make music or travel. You have this bright idea. You're inspired to do this because it is your dharma, it is part of yourself. And this is when it's important to have a healthy 1st house, or to heal your 1st house if it's afflicted, because that's the start of your journey. It's where you head off to get the rings, or whatever happened in the Lord of the Rings. You know, when the hobbits were like, we're off to adventure. Like that is the first, off to adventure. 1st house. 2nd house, solidified, you get the resources, you get the tools for the adventure. 3rd, you acquire the skills and the teammates you will go on this adventure with to retrieve the ring, or something, Lord of the Rings, I don't know. Still using this analogy. 4th house, you're tapping into your emotions, you're following your internal guidance system based off your intuitive feeling sense, your feeling compass, and you're taking action towards that. You then solidify your core identity along that path. You know who you are, you are solid, you have your honorable nobility, and you're channeling your creative intelligence in the 5th house. Go to the 6th house, you deal with any problems using your skill, developing yourself as you overcome obstacles and challenges that stand in your way. The 7th house, you partner with people, you build relationships, you exchange equally, you trade with other people, and you connect with other people to further understand yourself and your journey and your dharma. I started in the 1st house because this is now the mirror. 8th house, 8th house, you then solidify this bond, and you go through crisis and transformation to really gain a more solid emotional security. Then you go to the 9th house, where you find the meaning and purpose of this journey. What are you actually doing this for? And developing more self-knowledge and understanding at a deeper wisdom and a deeper level, so you can actually share this wisdom with other people, and gaining wisdom from other people who have been on this journey before you or have done something similar, because no two journeys are exactly alike. Then you go to the 10th house, where you start taking that true action in the material sense, doing your duty, taking care of your responsibilities, putting forth all of your energy to help and change the world in the way that you're meant to be changing the world, whatever that may be, because you are furthest away from home, which is the reflection, and you are no longer experimenting teammates in the 3rd house. You're now solidifying your own beliefs in the 9th. In the 11th, you're now working in groups and organizations. You're gaining social security in a network, in a solid core group, right? Within the greater grand of society, and you're gaining recognition, you're gaining affluence, you're gaining titles and certifications and awards, you're gaining things because of the work you did in all the 10 previous houses to get to this point. And once you've achieved other awards and you've celebrated and you've had so much fun and you've gained that social approval and you've done something for society in the 11th house, you then go to the 12th and you let it all go. And the story ends. And you have to let go of the titles, you have to let go of the rewards, you have to let go of everything in all of these 11 houses, spiritually liberate, transcend, and go to the next journey that is meant to be for you, whether it's in this incarnation, because we go through multiple cycles in the incarnations, in one incarnation, or it's death and you transcend and become a spiritual being and maybe come down to Earth or another 3rd densities planet, wherever that is in the universe, whatever petri dish you decided to land on in the cosmic lab that is our universe. So that is the journey. And one last thing we can do to understand Pisces, or not Pisces, sorry, 12th house, is you look at the opposite sign. You look at Virgo. Oh, I keep doing that. Sorry. You look at the 6th house, because the signs and the houses do correlate strongly, but they're not one-to-one. So you got to make sure we split them. I kind of made a mistake by putting all these signs directly with the house. You know, you get the point. It's confusing for me. My apologies. So the 12th house and the 6th house are opposite from each other. The 6th house is all about toil, right? Developing one's skills in the material realm, developing the ability to overcome obstacles and to survive on this planet, to struggle and toil and to succeed, overcome anything that stands in one's way on the path of our life, our destiny, our dharma that we started in the first, okay? But 12th house, the opposite. It's all about skill, ability to let go of all that material work, the skills, the abilities that have helped us on this material plane, because we're no longer meant to be attached to it. That's why it's all about letting go, surrender. It can be a difficult house too, because it's also about isolation, intimacy, private life, but transcendence. That means letting go of any attachments on this planet. The people you love, the people you hate, which can be just as hard, honestly. Even though people don't realize it, it can be just as hard letting go of the people you hate as the people you love. Letting go of the rewards and titles you gain in the 11th, all the responsibilities you've been attached to, your core identity in the 5th, the wisdom, everything you think you know about yourself and reality as a whole, all the experiments and all the teammates you made along the way, all the wealth and money you made there too, and the vision you manifested, and you feel so good about yourself, and you just got to let that go. And then 12. All about surrender, letting go, transcendence, and having that ability to contemplate and to see where you were being blocked, where you are still clinging on to material reality. It's a difficult house. That's why it's a Dhisthana, like the 6th, 8th, and 12th. It's not as painful, jarring, traumatic as the 8th house, but it's difficult in the sense that you have to let go of the things that you've become attached to, for better or for worse, to transcend. And not everyone does it in one incarnation. You reincarnate again, and then you have to play the game again. You keep doing it until you figure it out. That's life. That's spiritual evolution, is spiritual beings enjoying a human experience in this temporary place we call Earth. So, planets in the 12th, now that we've talked about it, will usually be hidden because it's in a moksha house, it's in a hidden house, it's in a hidden place. They will be planets that fuel our ability to contemplate, the ability to transcend or to find places of isolation, solitude, and look inside of ourselves to maneuver skillfully our internal environment or other states. Usually people who have lots of planets in the 12th house can go to other places. I've worked with 2 different individuals who've had multiple planets in the 12th house, and they've essentially said that, they can go somewhere else. One was in the military, and when he was going through basic training, and it was very difficult, obviously very painful externally. He's freezing, he's cold, it's the middle of the night, they're sleep depriving them because military. And he said he was just able to, through the pain and the suffering, to just go to another place or to detach from his identity and just go somewhere else. And then the other client I had, she is able to connect with different entities or different energies and explore her imagination, or astral project. I've had other people I've known personally be able to astral project easier or channel easier based off of multiple planets in the 12th house. So it's a very mystical, magical, imaginative area of the chart, to the point where it directly contradicts 6th house, which is more of that material, analytical, logical, tangible, practical skills and abilities that is more respected here on Earth. So things like channeling, imagination, astral projection, transcendent states, the subconscious, these are things that are very difficult for our limited egos to align with or understand. And so we usually just reject it as woo-woo bullshit. But it's real because it's part of our existence. It might not be the same real as that, but it's real nonetheless because it's something we experience. And everything we experience has some level of truth and reality to it. Otherwise, we wouldn't experience it. So planets here will aid in one's ability to transcend, to access higher states, to access other states, but also can lead to solitude and loneliness because it's a Dhisthana, it's a difficult place. It's not easy to let go of our worldly attachments, 6th house, and the worldly struggles of survival, 6th house. So a healthy 12th house is somebody who is able to let go, able to access higher states of consciousness, able to access the astral realm, able to maneuver their subconscious mind. What's his name? Freud had a strong 12th house, and we know what he did, right? Hypnosis is also associated with the 12th house. So somebody who's able to access different states of consciousness, people who might be able to take psychedelics and have a decent time, have a good time consistently, and it's not for everybody, right? It can be reality shifting, shaking when you go into that space, but there's that. Also, the ability to contemplate and to think about things and to access their own inner wisdom and their own higher self and channel things that are not accessible here in the material realm. But an unhealthy 12th house is somebody who can fall victim to escapism, disillusionment, confusion, unable to really maneuver this material realm, constantly not feeling motivated, not able to overcome the obstacles because they'd rather not deal with it. They'd rather go somewhere else. They'd rather go into their imagination. They'd rather fly off or astral project or do spiritual practices and be too woo-woo and too detached from the material, right? I don't believe that the woo-woo or the magical stuff is inherently wrong. It's just when you use it as an escape mechanism or defense mechanism, pathologically running away from our material responsibilities, which even to myself using psychedelics, I've fallen victim to at times. So I have personal experience. You got to be careful because the real world is the real world. And just because you're spiritual, just because you believe in reincarnation and multiple lifetimes doesn't mean that you don't have work here to do. This is why you incarnated here. You did it for a reason, right? If you're supposed to be up there, you'd be up there, but you're down here. So you can still go up there to better live down here, but down here is here for a reason, okay? And that can be a hard pill to swallow for some people. It was for me. I'm sure if you're watching this video, I'm talking about astrology, I'm sure there's many of you that have had that same similar struggle of dealing with the bullshit on this planet, is what it is. So that can be unhealthy as somebody who's escapist, isolates from the world, doesn't want to take care of the material responsibilities, doesn't know how to survive on their own, doesn't have the skills needed, can be overly dependent on other people or needing to be taken care of because they're just off somewhere else, completely detached from consensus reality. And to evaluate the 12th house, obviously you look at the 12th house itself or planets conjunct the 12th cusp. You look at the 12th sign and the lord of the 12th sign or the 12th house, the ruler. Look where it is, see its dignity, aspects, influences, all those good things. And then finally, Saturn. Saturn is the natural karaka producer of the 12th house because it aligns with losses, expenses, letting go, finalities. It's the last physical planet before you get to the outer planets of Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. So it's that boundary. It's the boundaries. And so you have to break through that final boundary, which is Saturn. And that's why it represents that final boundary. You have to just let go of everything and move on to the next. Take that leap of faith. It's that leap of faith, the 12th house. Jumping into the abyss, not knowing what's there, leaving everything you thought you knew behind, and jumping into the abyss to see what the next level of existence has to offer you. And so that's why it's aligned with Saturn. It's being able to let go, surrender, and move on to the next layer of existence. And so that was all 12 houses from a psychological perspective. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, please ask them down below. Or if you'd like to give your opinion if something resonated or not. Also, love to hear your words of wisdom and your personal experience. And subscribe because in the next video, we're going to be talking about which is better, tropical or sidereal, right? We're going to be comparing the two different sides of astrology or the fact that people use different house systems, different namshas, different charts. How do we reconcile this? How can we establish the fact that astrology is a legitimate practice, a legitimate art and or science, depending on your perspective, even though we're all using different systems to calculate charts and see planets and read people, right? So that's going to be the next video. I'm really excited to share it with you because I'm going to be getting into more of the philosophical aspects of astrology. And so I will see you then. Cheers.